So this I just found today. This is from MSNBC. This should be good. It is most men want return to traditional gender roles, but women not so sure. I'm pretty sure they're sure. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they're sure. They don't want to go back to regular gender roles. Or traditional gender roles.
The majority of men in America want a return to traditional gender roles, but most women aren't so sure.
That's because they MSG. They're red pill MSG jackasses. Allegedly.
Sure. That's just one finding from a brand new poll from the nonprofit news publication, The 19th, along with SurveyMonkey. We're the first folks to get a look at this. And the study also takes a look at Americans' views on toxic masculinity as well as abortion access.
Oh, toxic masculinity. Yes. Y'all in your toxic masculinity. Shout out to Trinidad.
One finding from a brand new poll from the nonprofit news publication, The 19th, along with SurveyMonkey. We're the first folks to get a look at this. And the study also takes a look at Americans' views on toxic masculinity as well as abortion access and stay-at-home parenting. There's a lot to dig into here with editor-at-large for The 19th, Aaron Haynes. Aaron, I was so happy when I started looking at these poll numbers and I knew that you were available to talk about them because there is so much to dig into here. I want to start on the return to traditional gender roles. It's a gap that we see between men and women, but then there's also a gap between political party affiliations and generations. What can you tell us about these numbers? We've seen these kinds of gender gaps reflected in other recent polls, but this one was really fascinating.
Yeah. Well, listen, Allie, thanks so much for highlighting the poll where folks can visit 19thnews.org to really
Believe society would benefit from a return to traditional gender roles. Men, 59%, and women, 43%. Honestly, it's a little high as far as I'm concerned on the women's side, but go on, child.
See the results and read our stories unpacking this. But yeah, gender roles was just among the issues that we asked about for the first time this year. This is the fourth time that we've done this poll with SurveyMonkey. And as you said, you had about half of Americans thinking that we should be worried about the impact of falling birth rates, for example, with more men worried about that than women. And, 31% say society would be better off if young people prioritize having a family, right, before professional accomplishments or other goals. But there are gender gaps and there are partisan gaps.
Oh, no. Prioritize family before career? I know you effing lying.
About half of Americans thinking that we should be worried about the impact of falling birth rates, for example, with more men worried about that than women. And, 31% say society would be better off if young people prioritized having a family, right, before professional accomplishments or other goals. But there are gender gaps and there are partisan gaps in those numbers. Let me just say 39% of men versus 24% of women believe that. And then 15% of Democrats. 15% of Democrats compared to 51% of Republicans say society would be better off if young people kind of prioritized having.
Wow, what a disparity there. Democrats versus Republicans. Say that again.
24% of women believe that. And then 15% of Democrats. 15% of Democrats compared to 51% of Republicans.
15 to 51, just inverse the numbers. 15 to 51. Is that a surprise? That is a low ass number though. 15% of Democrats. Oh my God. Y'all, that's crazy.
Say society would be better off if young people kind of prioritized having families before those professional accomplishments. And so, what does that mean? How is that showing up in their politics? How is that showing up in the choices that they're making every single day?
I also think that there's something that reminded me of when I was looking at a recent NBC News poll that we did that showed that Harris supporters had a much lower prioritization of having kids and starting a family, specifically female Harris supporters, compared to men overall in that poll who prioritized that much more highly. I thought that this was just enough.
So you trying to tell me that men prioritizing family for the most part over biatches? I know you effing lying. This is what I'm hearing. Is that not what I'm hearing? I'm hearing. Uncle Rick, I have it sped up. But you're trying to tell me that men want families? Somebody is lying. Somebody around this bitch is lying. And that the biatches don't? Woo, Lord help your people.
Other fascinating data point that can potentially explain the political as well as societal divide that's happening right now between young men and young women. I think the other thing that I was struck by was that your poll also looked at Americans' views towards toxic masculinity. Most of them overall, 62% of Americans agreed that it's a problem, but there was a gender gap here.
62%. Y'all's toxic masculinity is a problem. Get it together.
Young women. I think the other thing that I was struck by was that your poll also looked at Americans' views towards toxic masculinity. Most of them overall, 62% of Americans agreed that it's a problem, but there was a gender gap here as well. 71% of women agreed that toxic masculinity was a problem compared to only 53% of men. And generationally, as you looked younger, more people, more women specifically, saw toxic masculinity as a problem. And I feel like that shows up in our politics.
Child, they don't even understand what words mean. Child, as soon as somebody just asks them to do something, it's toxic masculinity. Anyway, go on, child. Let me see. Americans who think toxic masculinity is a problem. Republican women, 55%. Republican men, 34%. You're just MSG. You don't know.
Politics as well.
Yeah. But I do think it is notable that over half, 53% of the men did say that toxic masculinity is a problem for our society. Look, this is something that the 19th covered, during the campaign. And
Americans who think toxic masculinity is a problem. 71% of women. Good luck, y'all. Good luck, y'all. And 53% of men. That's a little higher than I thought it would be. No wonder y'all got to be responsible for your baby mom's mental health help. Y'all responsible for everything, but you're so damn toxic, child.
And also, as we have, we're 8 months into this administration, and we're seeing how some of this particular brand of masculinity, right, that we're seeing playing out across the Trump administration.
Find a way to make sure that you bring in Donald Trump being the problem, child. You cannot escape it.
Because Trump bad. Trump bad.
Again!
Because Trump bad. Trump bad.
Going, you're being a racist. Racist!
Gonna find a way to blame ya, and now ya crust, dust, and must are even worse because now we have the Trump administration, because everything that goes wrong in the world is always Donald Trump's fault. I tell you, who knew y'all had so much power? I tell you.
How is that playing into, how is that translating into not just rhetoric, but also policy, right? So if this is a concern for 7 in 10 Americans, what are they prepared to do? How are they prepared to act on that? How are they maybe going to push back on that, either, in society or even
date women? Women should date each other. They should get married together. That's what they should do. Since they're so wonderful and they got all the answers, why are you always worrying about what men do, though? I'm just trying to understand. I know, not y'all. You know what I'm saying. If they so bad, then why y'all spending all this time on the freaking internet trying to figure things out, trying to tell them what to do, when to do it, worry about what they doing? It don't make sense. They so toxic. You should stay away. You know what? When something is allegedly not good for you, you know what the answer is, child, is to stay away from it. But y'all keep going toward it and to it every damn day. So who really is the problem? Well, you crusty, dusty musties, because y'all are the problem with regard to everything. And now that you got Donald Trump in office, which is also y'all's fault, then y'all done made everything worse from that perspective as well. Okay? Just want to let you know. I'm here to help y'all. Okay? I'm here to help y'all. Chris, thank you, boo. He said, so toxic femininity doesn't exist, misandry? No. Do you ever hear anybody talking about it? I don't. This is you and your toxic masculinity right now, Chris. We're not having it. We're not having it. Now, I want you
You're awesome.
to never speak this again.
You're awesome.
There's no such thing as misandry. You heard? Just like that dude on that story with the lady that took her 3, 2, and 8-month-old and tried to delete them. Okay. His responsibility was to report it and basically stop her. They didn't say stop her, but because he didn't do something, it's his fault. Probably because of his toxic masculinity. You heard? Now, all these women that be up here talking their mad sugar honey iced tea, they can do that. Okay. Y'all can't do anything. I don't know what's wrong with y'all. Y'all can't do anything. It's all your fault. And now your leader, because y'all's leader is Donald Trump. So it's his fault too. Everything is between y'all and between Donald Trump and J.D. Vance at this point. Now Charlie Kirk. I don't know what's going to happen. All this toxic masculinity around here. Shout out to you, Chris. I appreciate you. You know I'm just playing. Shout out to Wayne Lundy. I appreciate you, boo, for 5 memberships. Thank you so much. Shout out to all the channel members. I see you. I appreciate you. If you did get a membership, please make sure you thank Wayne Lundy. Shout out to you, hun. Shout out to all the channel members. Everyone that is here, please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you are new, because we have to talk about all the crust dusty musties, toxic masculinity, and everything is y'all's fault. I'm always here to help y'all out, okay? Quellman said, can't leave the D alone. How everybody keep getting pregnant? I mean, I understand that the birth rates are low, but I'm just a little confused as to how everybody keep getting pregnant since y'all so horrible and toxic and you ain't shit, you ain't got shit, you ain't gonna be shit, you don't know shit, but you are supposed to be responsible for making sure that if your baby mama need mental health help, you should have been letting somebody know. So when she tried to take out 3 babies, it's still somehow y'all's fault. And by the transitive property, Donald Trump's fault, because everything is his fault.
Maybe even at the ballot box.
Yeah, and I do think that there's, in this larger conversation of toxic masculinity and the way that the so-called manosphere manifests in politics, there's almost this backlash to more women and more people broadly recognizing the privilege that comes along with being male in a society like ours.
Oh, all this privilege that y'all have. Name me y'all's privilege, please, Bueller. What is y'all's privilege, gentlemen? Tell me what y'all's privileges are. Okay, that's what they just said. Let me rewind it.
And the way that the so-called manosphere manifests in politics.
Oh, the manosphere. Oh, no, now they're bringing up the manosphere on the news. Who knew?
Going to push back on that, either, in society or maybe even at the ballot box.
Yeah, and I do think that there's, in this larger conversation of toxic masculinity and the way that the so-called manosphere manifests in politics, there's almost this backlash to more women and more people broadly recognizing the privilege that comes along with being male in a society like ours. I think that that's definitely showing up in politics too. But then the poll also does poll an issue that is both gender and also overtly political, and that's on abortion access. You say that nearly 2/3 think abortion should be legal in all or most cases. That tracks actually with where Gallup polling has shown this to be in the past.
Ah, so y'all are toxic, but these bitches want to be able to delete babies. Y'all are toxic manosphere goofballs. I tossed that word in there. But these bitches are so wonderful that they want to delete babies. We need the right to delete babies. Yes. Don't you just love the hypocrisy that these people right here are saying and won't even say, you know what? That might be a little bit toxic to be still fighting to make sure that you can delete your babies, which is something that happened under Joe Biden, but they still blame Donald Trump for it because he's the one that put the last 2 or 3 justices on the court, even though Obama could have done it, but he wasn't allowed to do it because he wouldn't push back and his people wouldn't push back because Mitch McConnell, who's probably sitting somewhere next to Joe Biden somewhere, just looking at the light or something. I'm just saying. They didn't do nothing to push back on that shit. So it's kind of his fault for not pushing back and trying to make sure that you look good for everybody. And now here y'all are. And let's we not forget Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Rest in peace to that lady. But she said that I'm not going to retire nowhere until Hillary becomes president. Child, we still waiting for that. And she fucked that part of it up. But nobody seems to remember none of that. Yeah, it's all Donald Trump's fault.
But very small numbers think the government should restrict use of IVF, hormonal birth control, emergency contraception. That's also consistent with polling on the issue. But what do you think about how Democrats can use polling like this to layer onto
Americans who think government should restrict the use of IVF, hormonal birth control, and emergency contraception? Okay.
A platform that's very much up for debate right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that, Democrats obviously talked a lot about abortion, not only in the last midterm election, as we look ahead to another midterm, but also in the last presidential election. But
62% of Americans thinks that AB should be legal. Isn't it? It is legal. You just got to go to the place where it's legal. That's all. As simple as that. Remember when all the companies was jumping on that bandwagon at the time? If people don't see how the companies is just going to jump on the bandwagon of whoever is in charge because they want their business to continue to flourish, y'all crazy. But they said, oh, yeah, and we'll provide the plane tickets and you can have extra time off from work if you want to go have an AB. It's okay. Just let us know. We want to be sensitive. I promise you that shit is going by the wayside now. I promise you.
Also, they talked about the economy, right? The economy continues to be the number one issue. And thinking about reproductive care, reproductive access, not just as a health issue, but also as an economic issue. We have also in our poll, many Americans being worried about their ability to pay the bills, right? And so,
then they shouldn't be having kids. That's all the more reason not to get pregnant, I would think.
Decision to have a family or not, that is absolutely one of the things that goes into it. People who are worried about their cost of living, having a family, starting a family, that definitely is also an economic issue. And so I think all those things maybe are tied up together and we could see those two things being intertwined and playing out in our politics as well.
You and I have talked about the way that reproductive health care is actually an economic issue, and we're not the only ones. That was former Vice President Kamala Harris who often made that point. And you actually spent some time with her last night on the opening stop of her multi-state book tour.
They loving Cam over here.
Yeah. Talk a little bit more about that conversation, whether or not you see this as an end or a beginning, new beginning for her political career.
Yeah, it was really interesting. So, 107 Days is the book that finally has her, in her own words, kind of.
If y'all don't think this woman is not going to run for president again, child, y'all crazy.
Recounting her historic, unprecedented campaign for president. Obviously was unsuccessful in that, but, she unpacks kind of the lessons learned and gives people a behind the scenes. And this was really her first time in front of a crowd to discuss that. The crowd was super energetic and she really seemed to feed off of that. And so she said the 15-city book tour, which kicked off in New York last night, is an opportunity to listen to people, to hear where she is and what she's thinking, but also how the American people are thinking and what they think the fight is going to look like going from here. So really interesting. And I'm really interested to see how this tour continues and what she learned from it and what she might do as a result of it.
Yeah, you've covered her for such a long time. You and I are both politics reporters. Anytime we hear that a politician is out in the country listening, you always wonder, all right, what are you listening for? What do you need to hear to make the next step in your political career? I know you'll be tracking it, whatever it is. Editor at large for the 19th, Erin Haynes. Always love having you. Great to see you.
Child, both of y'all can go to hell. I feel the same way, Fit Granny. I feel the same way. This is crazy. This is crazy, but.